Hello, I'm John Genero, and Editor-in-Chief of IPO Edge here at the ICR conference in Orlando, Florida. Very excited to be here with the two leaders of a brand I actually really like a lot, J.McLaughlin. I have the man himself, Kevin McLaughlin, who is creative director and co-founder. I also have Mary Ellen Coyne, who is the CEO. Both of you, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Happy to be here.
So to my viewers, I've got to tell you, first of all, I just visited the new men's store in Palm Beach. I actually bought a belt, which I'm wearing. I'm not going to stand up and show it off, but I'm a huge fan of this brand, so this is a really cool interview for us. But let's hear this from Kevin himself. Tell us the story, what this brand's all about, and your recipe for growth.
Well, it has been led by intuition. My brother and I started this 46 years ago, and we liked clothes, and I was working in a clothing store, going to school. We had another business, Jay and I just saw a monstrous opportunity. The store was on the Upper East Side, and it was a rather traditional store, which was unusual in that market, and it was extraordinarily successful. And I simply said to Jay, we got to give it a try, man. And that was it. We pounded the pavement, found a store, literally built the first store ourselves, and with a very small investment, off to the races.
Great. Now, I remember seeing one of your stores. The first time I probably saw one was in Princeton, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the few places. So Upper East Side first. Did Princeton come soon after? Where else did your
again,
footprint grow?
intuition and circumstance. The first time, the second store was on Madison Avenue in Carnegie Hill, where Jay, who was living in Brooklyn at the time, didn't want to be commuting anymore, wrote a letter to everybody who owned a building up on Madison. The lady called him up, and he bought the building, and store's there, and he lives upstairs, and he still does. And the next one after that was Westport, Connecticut, because Jay in college happened to be a lifeguard at the Westport Y. So I said, this is a great town, let's try it. Princeton came next right after that, and that was a circumstance of a fellow who had a building, and it was during the holiday season, and Jay said, let's get out of the store. It was just too nerve-wracking, and we drove down there, and bingo. So it looked good. The first time I'd ever been in Princeton in my life, but what's not to like,
I spent 4 years there. I go back now. So let's bring Mary Ellen into the conversation. So we were just talking in the green room here that you were at Ralph Lauren for 19 years.
Yes.
Tell us about your experience there and what led you to join McLaughlin.
Sure. So I had an amazing experience at Ralph Lauren, starting in their jeans division, going back and ultimately running 3 of the women's and all the children's divisions, and just a great experience, unbelievable mentors in my career, Ralph included. But when I got a call about J.McLaughlin, it was very funny. I knew the store from Locust Valley, where my dad used to shop, and but I thought I hadn't. Someone said, have you thought about it? I said, not in years, why would I? But I went into all the stores and really started to see that there was magic. The store teams loved the brand. The product was so incredibly well made and well priced, and with just such great taste level. So I obviously met Kevin, and then that was it. We were off to the races. But for me, coming from a large brand, thousands and thousands of employees, to this very small brand that is still to this day, 46 years later, incredibly entrepreneurial, incredibly nimble, and really to be able to have an impact every single day has been the greatest opportunity for me here.
Great. Now, we were talking about the early days. Let's fast forward to 2024. What is your growth strategy like now? What are some of the locations that you guys are looking at?
Well, we're looking at locations. Honestly, there's a couple of different opportunities for us. One is to look west, because we are very penetrated on the East Coast, north and south. And so anything west of that, we believe we still have opportunity. The other area we're particularly interested in is happening now that there's been such population diversity because of the pandemic. So people have moved to locations that used to be quite sleepy, towns that no one thought retail could survive. And we are seeing that we have opportunity for many more stores in some of these locations, which is encouraging. I would say that for 2024. Beyond that, and what we are going to start to test the waters in 24 will be Europe. And really looking at some seaside towns, some resort communities, and we'll have the opportunity to test some of those test 2 of those in 24 to see how it goes.
Gotcha. So I want to ask about your core customers. So I'm a fan, obviously. I said that right away. But how are you differentiated from some of the other, fashion retailers that are in a similar category? How do you stand out? What's different about you guys?
Well, all products is proprietary. We just, again, intuition was always to sell everything under our own name. So from the first day the store opened, we sold everything under the J.McLaughlin label, and so that proprietary product differentiates us. And I do think we have an understanding of this customer and the nuances of this customer. I like to say we take a woman of a certain sensibility, of a certain lifestyle, and bring her as close to fashion as she would like to go without taking her over the edge ever. And she depends on us for that. She wants to look modern, she wants to look appropriately dressed, but she doesn't want to, I like to say, she doesn't want her clothes to arrive before she does. So
I would also say, really, as one of the last great Main Street retailers, our relationship with our customers and our relationships in the communities is quite unique. We have a long-standing, really unbelievable high-touch personal service that has built these relationships that go on for years and, quite frankly, go on for generations. So, where we have, the female shopping, and she's with her daughter, and she's with her mother, and she's with her husband, and it really becomes everyone in the family, but also everyone in the community. We do a lot of philanthropic work, and we really encourage our store managers. They act as if it is their store, and they really become involved, and it's so nice to see. They're often the leaders in the community, quite frankly.
Well, Mary Ellen, as I was telling you before, I did a little homework, and I was talking to one of your store managers, and he was a delightful guy. And I got to tell you, particularly in a place like Palm Beach, there are some stores where it's not as fun to go in and talk to the staff there. They might kind of stand behind you, make you feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Do you look for friendly people? Just tell me, how do you track these folks down who are more pleasant than they are at other places?
Well, we do. I would say, again, to Kevin's credit, long before I arrived on the scene, we have store managers that have been with the brand 10, 20, 25, I think one even 30 years. And very often we find our store managers are customers. They're people who love the store, have always loved shopping in the store, and find this opportunity for whatever point they are in their life that they'd like to go back to work for a few days a week. And so they are people who love the brand from the start.
I would say the Senior Vice President of Stores, Deirdre Zurich, and she always says, when I ask her, I said, what do you look for? She said, I look for people who smile. If they smile when they come into the interview, that's a good sign. And, the motto has always been, make a customer, not a sale. That is the motto of the company. Make a customer, not a sale. So being nice to you, that you have a good experience, is far more important to us, and it's been ingrained in the culture of the company that if you find the store attractive, you like the product, think it's priced fairly, and you have a nice experience, and the people are nice, we win. We will get you. If it's not that day, it'll be for a birthday. It'll be when you need a belt.
Well, you got me with a belt the other day. Can we talk about other categories? So belts, shirts, pants, all the basics. Is there anything new on the horizon in the next year or two?
Well, we're leaning. You saw it in Palm Beach that's the first initiative on menswear.
Yeah.
That has freestanding stores, and I thought very strongly that was the appropriate market to give it a try. And there's people dress in Palm Beach, and so that is low-hanging fruit for us that I really think has been a victim of our women's success, which has consumed a lot of the dollars and a lot of the real estate and a lot of the attention. So men's is a big initiative. The accessories, shoes, handbags is an important area for us for growth, and the athleisure, which is in our case perhaps more spectator than participant. A lot of that is worn with a cashmere turtleneck by our customer, and so all of those are initiatives that I think represent opportunity. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, let's talk some numbers. What are the key metrics that people should be paying attention to? Talking about growth, talking about store count is growing. Anything else we should focus on that shows off how well you're doing?
Sure. I would say over the last 7 years, we have doubled the sales and tripled the profit of the brand. The last 10 years have seen double-digit growth every single year. We have incredibly high initial and maintained margins. We run a full price business. Over 80% of our business is done full price. And we have a very high, because we have a loyal customer, very high frequency in which they shop, which leads to a very high AOV, LTV, and a very reasonable cost to acquire as we go to add new customers.
Gotcha, makes sense. All right, one last question here. Let's talk Wall Street a second. You've been owned by Brentwood, a private equity firm, for about 8 years. We know how these cycles work. So, what's on the horizon? Could there be a sale to a strategic partner, perhaps an IPO? And any hints about what might be in store?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you mentioned, there's always the thought that we will go through a process and have a transaction, but given the market today, we're going to do it when we find the right buyer and the right valuation. Right now, Brentwood's a great partner, so we're going to stick with it until we find the right opportunity.
All right, great. Well, Mary Ellen and Kevin, this has been a real treat. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ICR conference. I'm John Janneron, Editor-in-Chief of IPO Edge, signing off from Orlando, Florida.